Welcome everyone. I see there are a lot of students from various classes. Like then there are 10th grade students, 9th grade, 7th grade, and the 11th grade, and also working people, right? So my session, I'm planning to walk you through a blockchain, what this is all about, and what is the importance of blockchain, whether this technology would help us help common man in any way, and also I will take you through the fundamentals of blockchain, what the blockchain is all about, and how, what is a block, what is chain, okay, and uh, and also some of the use cases. I will take you through examples of some of the use cases which are most likely to be adopted by the industry going forward, and what are all the use cases which are currently being used in this blockchain space by various industries. Like Satish explained earlier, NFT is one of the booming use case or the application which uses blockchain technology. And we'll also see what is Bitcoin. I hope people would have heard of Bitcoin. Anybody have heard of Bitcoin nowadays? The students?
Yes. The cryptocurrency.
Yes. So you know what is cryptocurrency?
Digital format of currency.
Digital format of currency. Okay. Do you know how many cryptocurrencies are there at this point of time, as we speak?
Well, don't know the numbers, but one thing I know is there are lot many and being introduced all the time consistently. I mean, very few only Bitcoin and Dogecoin and some are popular, but there are a lot
Yeah.
many others.
Yeah, correct. The most popular cryptocurrencies currently, what we see is Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Ethereum.
And there are more than thousands of cryptocurrencies that exist at this point of time, as we speak. And then there are more and more cryptocurrencies coming up daily. People are investing, people are buying cryptocurrencies. Okay. So first I will be talking about what blockchain is all about. Okay. And then I will talk about what is cryptocurrency. And then we will talk about what are all the use cases, applications which use this blockchain technology. Okay. So everybody knows a network of computers, right? So computer network, people, you are aware of computer networks, right? We know what is internet. Okay. We as of now we are connected from different parts of the world through this internet. We are all connected. We are all connecting onto this Zoom application from various computers located at different parts of the world. People are connecting from Chalakudi, people are connecting from Mumbai, people are connecting from Kuwait. I am sitting in Kerala, Palghat, and there are people connecting from various parts of the world. So we are connecting through this Zoom application from different locations, and then through this a large network called the internet. We all connect to the internet, and then we communicate each other through this Zoom application. Correct? Similarly, a blockchain is so blockchain essentially means it's a chain of blocks which reside inside a network of computers. Okay. When I say blockchain network, I will show how a blockchain network looks like in a very small format. Okay. So there are 4 computers in this diagram, what you can see just now, and then they're all connected to each other through this network called a blockchain network. Okay. And each computer will have a copy of data, and then the interesting feature of this blockchain network is that all the computers in this network will have same set of data through which they will be interacting to each other. While they interact to each other, each of their data will be updated simultaneously, almost immediately, through this network. So all the computers in this network are connected to each other, and then they will all have same set of data. That is the primary feature of a blockchain network. So it essentially means a network of computers. Here I have shown only four computers here, but in a blockchain network, usually there is this public blockchain network which are the popular blockchain network is the Bitcoin blockchain network. There is this Ethereum based blockchain network. There are various blockchain networks currently in the world just now, and each of these networks will have hundreds and thousands of computers connected to each other and they're all located in different parts of the world. They're different geographies. Okay, and each data, whatever they have, is called a blockchain. So whatever the data in all these computers, right, that is called a ledger, and it is represented as blocks which are connected to each other. So it's a chain of blocks. Okay, every computer in this network will have a set of data connected to each other, and the data is stored inside a block, and then these blocks are connected to each other. That is why it is called a chain of blocks or a blockchain. Okay, every computer will have a set of data. That blockchain data will be exactly same as all the other computers who are part of a network. The point what I'm telling is, essentially you should understand that when we talk about blockchain, we are talking about network of computers connected to each other, and all the computers in that network will share the same data. Okay, that is a primary feature of blockchain.
Just to interrupt once. So in case when I buy a Bitcoin, for example, any maybe a fraction of it, of course. So if I do it through a device, whatever, mobile or my computer, so my computer becomes a part of that network?
No. You can become a part of the blockchain network if you have that blockchain software in your computer. Okay, you can very well connect to the blockchain network, but people usually do is what they do is they, through their mobile app, right, you have a blockchain application, and then that mobile application will be connecting to a computer which is connected to the blockchain network.
Okay.
That is how you usually do. There are various applications or exchanges which help you to do that. We will come to the cryptocurrency part and the transaction or the Bitcoin buying and selling of Bitcoin a bit later. But this network of computers having the same set of data is what a blockchain network is all about. Okay, everybody shares the data. Okay, it's called a P2P network. That a P2P network means peer-to-peer network. Computers are connected peer-to-peer. If my computer will be connected to hundreds of computers in this network when I'm connecting. That's what a P2P connection means. My computer will be directly connected to another computer. Like that's various computers will be connected to my system when I am part of a blockchain network. Okay, and it consists of chain of blocks. We'll talk about what a block is and how a blockchain is formed. Okay. And there are certain set of features of a blockchain. When this technology came into existence, it came boasting of several set of features. So I'll talk about the primary features. It says immutable transparent, and decentralized. Okay. Immutable means the data once written, okay, whatever transaction we are writing onto a blockchain network, that is immutable. You cannot change that. You can overwrite it, but you cannot change that. Why? We will look at why a blockchain network is called immutable. We'll look at it in detail a bit later. And also another feature, primary feature, which I would say is that a blockchain is transparent. Blockchain network is transparent because every transaction or every record we are writing onto the blockchain will be known to all the computers in that particular network. Everybody in that network will know about that particular transaction. So if you are sending some data from a computer in Kerala to a computer to an address which is lying inside a computer in let's say Dubai, that particular data will be shared and replicated and will be written onto all the computers in that particular network. There will be thousands and millions of computers which will be connected onto that network. Everybody in this world who are all connected to that blockchain network will have a copy of that network. Okay? Will have a copy of that particular transaction or that particular record which is written onto the blockchain network. Okay, and another keyword, but what I would say is that it is decentralized. Decentralized meaning it is not centralized. If you look at a bank or any other entity which you are transacting, they will have a central server where all the data will be stored, and there will be 1 or 2 copies of that data. Okay, so that is a centralized computer. Okay, centralized server. All the data, the accounts information, transaction information, the buy or sell, withdraw, deposit, all the information will be stored in a centralized server, or it will be stored on all the servers which the banks own. Okay, but in a blockchain network, it is decentralized, meaning there is no owner of that particular network. Nobody owns that data. Everybody owns the data. Okay. There is no sole owner of the data. All the people in the network will have the same data, and they will have exactly the same copy what other person has. Okay. Now, these are all the primary features of a blockchain network. Now, I will take you through a small scenario where a blockchain can be made use of. Let's say it's a logistics use case. First, I will talk about how in the current scenario a logistics use case works. Okay, then we will talk about how blockchain can be used in that particular scenario. So I will let's talk about a transportation of vaccine scenario. Okay. So usually what happens is that when a hospital, okay, a patient is requiring a vaccine or a medicine, so that is manufactured from a manufacturer is sitting at a different location. Okay, they create the vaccine, and the hospital orders the vaccine. Okay, and the manufacturer accepts the order, and what they do is they will pack the vaccine, send in a temperature controlled container, and then that will be sent to their airport to a logistics company who will be taking to in a truck, and then will be taken to airport. From the airport, it will be flown to India, and from the airport, it will be carried on a truck to the hospital. Okay, this is the current scenario. What happens? Okay, this will take lot of time, obviously, but can anybody say what are all the problems? What all problems could be there in this scenario? Any guesses?
See, there could be many. I mean, first is like if there is a gap between the communication about the order and the orders placed and the orders, that is one. Second is while transportation, if it is not done in a proper way, if all those things not maintained. So one is right from the placing of order till receiving. At various stages, there could be different problems,
Correct. So as you rightly said, one major problem is communication. Okay, and there will be a delay in communication. So current mode of communication could be telephone, email, or chats, or any other mechanism. Okay, you use internet to order this vaccine, and the manufacturer says that I have accepted. He drops in an email, and then he will say that I have packed, say, this much amount of vaccine to you, and I've sent it through this particular logistics company, let's say DHL or a FedEx or a Blue Dart or any other company, courier company. Through them, I have sent it, and this is the transaction number or the AWB number through which you can track. Okay, and they will also say that this particular vaccine is stored in a container which should be maintained at, say, 18 degrees Celsius or 20 degrees Celsius. It should not, the temperature should not go beyond 20 degrees Celsius. We have taken sufficient care that this particular vaccine has been put in a container, sealed container, and then it is being transported to you. You should make sure that the temperature is in control and you have received the goods in a proper manner. Okay, so a person sitting in the hospital will be waiting, and then they will have to trust the manufacturer. Manufacturer will say that I have sent your vaccine on so and so day, so and so time, through this plane, through this carrier, and then the plane has reached there. It is waiting at the airport, and from the airport it has reached Mumbai airport, and then from Mumbai airport it is being taken through another carrier, let's say a Blue Dart in India, and then it is being taken to hospital. So we don't know what all things have happened in the process of transit. Okay, so you will have to trust what the manufacturer says. You will have to trust the logistics company, what they have said. You will have to trust the truck driver that I have taken due care during this transfer process. You will have to trust the airline company that there hasn't been any problem during the transfer, and you will also have to trust the local transportation guy who is taking the vaccine from the airport, Mumbai airport, to the hospital. Okay, and there could be delays, and then you don't know why there was a delay. The courier guy might say that I was delivered at 9 o'clock. I should have got it at 6 o'clock. There was a 3-hour delay that from the airport, and there was that is why your order got delayed. So all of these things, right? You will have to trust the other party. So primary concern in this scenario where multiple people are involved, the hospital is involved, the manufacturer is involved, airline company, plane cargo is involved, the Blue Dart company is involved, FedEx is involved, logistics company, local transportation guy, or there are various people who are all connected for this particular transportation. You have to trust them. Okay, that is one major problem, the lack of trust. Okay, so if what happens, let's see what happens when all these entities, all these organizations are part of a blockchain network, and then let's see the difference, and then probably you will be able to realize how this technology can help or help solve the problem of the trust. Okay, so these are all the entities who are currently participating in this transportation of vaccine from manufacturer to the hospital. Okay, let's say all these computers are connected through a blockchain network. So hospital is connected, manufacturer is connected, the courier company is connected, Sydney airport is connected, Mumbai airport is connected, local Mumbai courier companies, all the people are connected, are part of a blockchain network. Okay, so now what happens is that the hospital orders a vaccine and manufacturer accepts the order. So when they accept the order, what happens is that manufacturer will write an entry onto this blockchain network. Here you can see that they have created an entry in their computer. Okay, so the moment they write that entry that I have accepted the order through this blockchain network, it will be broadcasted to all the computers in this network. So here I have showcased only hospital and manufacturer for simplicity. The point here is, when the manufacturer says that I have accepted the order, hospital's computer also will get that information that manufacturer has accepted the order. Okay, now the next step is manufacturer packs the vaccine and sends in a temperature controlled container, and then they will engage a courier company in their, so they will say that I have packed the vaccine. So that information they enter into the blockchain network. Immediately hospital gets the data, gets the information. They are not sending any email. The moment they update their ledger, I would say the blockchain, their computer, the moment they say that I have packed the vaccine and kept in a computer in a temperature controlled container, that information is immediately available to the hospital. Okay, and the moment the next step in that process is that they will engage a courier company to send it to the airport. So that information they will update in their ledger. Okay, so that information is also broadcasted on to all the computers. Right now I am showing it is updated in the hospital, it is updated in the manufacturer's computer, it is updated at the courier company's computer, and it's also updated at the airport computer. So the airport will know that so and so data is going to come. Okay, so and so vaccine is, or so and so consignment is going to come. Okay, so the moment once that airport, from the airport it is being flown to airport in Mumbai, and the airport in Mumbai airport says that I have received this consignment, it immediately writes onto this blockchain network, and the moment it writes, it is updated at the hospital, the manufacturer, the courier company, the city airport, all the people who are involved in that particular consignment, they will all get updated saying that I have transported, it has now reached Mumbai airport. And the next step is that from the Mumbai airport, it is being taken to deliver to the hospital through a local courier company in Mumbai, and that data is also updated. So the thing here is that everybody is updated about the information which is entered onto the blockchain by any party. Does this make sense? Does it feel helpful?
Yes, sir.
Any other? So what all things? What are all the benefits you could see in this scenario?
There is no loss of information actually. I mean, by default it gets broadcasted, so everyone gets to know what is happening.
Correct, exactly. So if a hospital is looking at the computer looking the data in their computer, they are exactly sure that the same data the manufacturer is also looking. And the courier company, they will also see the same data. So there is no lack of trust. Let's say manufacturer says that I have sent the vaccine at 9 o'clock on 31st October, 30th October. Okay. That data, when the manufacturer says that I have sent and then I have entered in the blockchain, the timestamp at 9 o'clock October 30th, that information is available to the hospital then and there. Later on, the manufacturer cannot modify the data and say that I had already sent on 28th October, 11 o'clock, I had sent. Manufacturer cannot say that because when the data was entered by them, they cannot go and modify the data saying that initially I had sent the data, sent the vaccine on 28 instead of 30. They cannot do that. That is because once the data is entered onto the blockchain, okay, it is immutable, meaning nobody can change that. If at all somebody goes and changes the data, the previous data will remain. They can only overwrite the data. So that is how it's the blockchain essentially consists of chain of information. Okay, the manufacturer says that I have entered, created, I have sent the vaccine at 9 o'clock. That information is stored in block number 100. And he says that I have sent it to courier on 30th October, 10 o'clock. That information is written on block number 101. And airport says that I have received the courier at 30th October, 2 p.m. That information will be written at block number 102. So block number 100, block number 101, 102. So there will be multiple levels of information stored on different blocks of data. And once a block is created, that block will be replicated on all the computers, and a manufacturer cannot go and modify block number 100. That is why we call the blockchain network as a immutable record of data. All the data inside the blockchain is immutable, and it is decentralized. Nobody owns the data. The moment you enter the data in the network, the moment you update the blockchain, it is replicated and broadcast to all the computers in the network, and everybody has that information. And if you say, if the manufacturer says, updates that information saying that I have sent it on 30th October instead of 20th October instead of 30th October, that will be updated in block number 110, and that information also will be broadcasted on to all the computers.
One query I have.
Yeah.
The guy who gets added later on, let's say the courier company, does he have the access to the blocks which were created before it was added?
Yeah. The fundamental feature of connecting to a blockchain network is that, so let's say a Bitcoin blockchain has been running since 2009. Okay. It's been several years. The data has been kept on adding. The number of blocks is huge, with large number of blocks are there. Okay, but in order to be part of the network, you have to install that software, blockchain software, and then you have to connect to that network. The first thing your computer does is that it will collect all the historic information. Okay, currently a Bitcoin blockchain network has a 40 GB or I think it's 120 GB of data. Okay. So it will first download all the information, all the historic data will be downloaded onto your computer. You will have all the transactions available in the network. Once all the data is copied onto your computer will be synchronized with the network. You will have the same set of data what others have. Then only you will be able to do any such transaction. So you will get historic data.
And one more thing, then who is the custodian of this data?
Everybody owns that.
No single custodian?
No. In a public blockchain network, the Bitcoin blockchain network or the Ethereum blockchain network, nobody owns. It's all decentralized. Nobody owns the data. Everybody owns the data.
But then if like something goes wrong with the network, who will fix it?
That is the risk of this cryptocurrency world. There are, see, Ethereum network is, there are people who manage this network and then they will publish the upgrades and all those things. There are people who do that. Okay? But nobody owns the data. That is the primary feature of this blockchain network. And there are various other use cases which we will talk about. There are type of networks, blockchain networks. One is a public blockchain network, which consists of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the cryptocurrencies. Okay, and there are smaller networks which it's a certain set of organizations to come together and create a network of their own. Those networks are all can be called as private blockchain networks. Okay. So we will talk about public blockchain network, private blockchain network a bit later. Okay. So far, we are good, or how is it? Anybody else has doubts or not doubts? Anybody else has questions or?
No, sir.
So we are clear on what is a network and what is blockchain, right? So I will reiterate what blockchain network is all about. Okay, so essentially, you would have known about computer networks, right? And people in this world, you already probably, not probably, you are already using the internet to communicate to various people across the world. Right? Currently, we are communicating through this internet. Okay? So, blockchain network is a network of computers which are connected. Okay, and to show as a small diagram, I have depicted 4 computers which are all connected to each other, which means all the computers in this network are connected to each other, and then they can send information or data from to each other. Okay, and everybody will have a set of information which will be identical to the data which other computers has. So meaning in a blockchain network, the blockchain consists of what we call as the ledger. Excuse me. The ledger consists of record of transactions. The ledger will, like, similar to what we have what we see in a banking ledger, right? There will be a deposit, there will be withdrawals, there will be transfers. All those information will be written in what we call as the ledger in the banking terms. Okay. Similarly, in a blockchain network, we call the transactions or the information which is written onto the blockchain network will be a transaction, and these transactions will be stored as records in what we call as a ledger, a blockchain ledger. And this blockchain ledger is created in a form of blocks, and these blocks are connected to each other. That is why it is called as a blockchain or chain of blocks. So first block will contain some information. It will be connected to block number 2, and then block number 2 will have certain set of information, and block number 3 will have certain set of information. And similarly, the chain grows. Okay, so at the moment there are like more than 2 lakh or 4 lakhs blocks in a public blockchain network. So when the moment you write some data, that information will be written onto the ledger, and the ledger information will be replicated or will be broadcasted to all the computers in the blockchain network. So this is how a ledger inside the ledger looks like. It consists of a block of a chain of blocks. So each block will have certain set of data, and you could see that all the computers will have same set of data. So that is what a blockchain network is all about, and it consists of a network of computers sharing same set of data. All the computers are connected to each other through uh, through a protocol called P2P. It's called peer-to-peer networking. Each and every computer are connected to each other. Okay, and the data inside these computers are organized as blocks, and they're all connected, and then it's organized in a chain of blocks, and that's why it is called a blockchain network. Okay, and there are certain primary features of blockchain which is immutable, transparent, and decentralized. Decentralized meaning there is no centralized server. Okay, there is no single point of failure, or let's say usually a centralized server, if all the data will be stored in a central server, usual network. Okay, in a banking network or a railway network or or an IRCTC network, right, where you do the booking and all. The data, all the booking information will be stored in a centralized server. Of course, there will be multiple copies of that centralized server. All of them will be managed and administered by the government or whoever manages the server. But no, there won't be any several copies. Okay, it is called a centralized server. But in a blockchain network, the data is replicated to all the computers in the network. That is why it is called a decentralized network, and nobody owns the data. Everybody owns the data actually. So there is no single owner of the data, and the transactions are transparent. If you say why it is transparent, because the moment somebody does a transaction, it will be updated to all the computers in the network. So that is why, so nobody can say hide the data from other computers. Everybody will automatically be updated with your transaction. And immutable, the transactions or the records which are written onto the blockchain network is immutable, meaning you cannot change the data which you have already written. Let's say a person Alice has sent 100 cryptocurrency to Bob. Okay, that record is written in block number 100. Alice cannot go and modify that 100 to 200. If she has to do that, it can be written only in block number 100 or onto the latest block. You cannot go back and change the record which has been already written. Okay, I will tell you why it is immutable. The feature being, once you have written a transaction, it is broadcasted onto all the computers in the network. So if you have to modify a data, you will have to go and modify all the computers in that network. And most of the cases in a public blockchain network, you don't know how many computers are connected. You don't even know how many computers are connected. So by default, a definition of blockchain, if I say, it is a decentralized, distributed, and most of the time it is public, and it's a digital ledger consisting of records, and these records constitute form a block, and all the blocks contain several transactions, and the data is stored across multiple computers. Okay, and if you see, I told that blockchain is chain of blocks, and each block will have some data. Okay, and the data, let's say Ram sent 100 rupees to Rohit. Okay, that is a transaction. Rohit sent 50 rupees to say Sita. So that is another transaction. So in a block, we can have multiple transactions. So Ram sent 100 to Rohit, that is one transaction. Rohit sent 50 rupees to Sita, that is another transaction. So TX0 is one transaction, TX1 is another transaction. There will be several set of transactions happening inside a blockchain network. And these transactions are brought together and created as a single block and written onto the blockchain. Okay, so there will be multiple blocks connected to each other, and each block will have or may have one transaction or many transactions, and they're all connected to each other, meaning block number 1 will have information about block number 10, block number 12 will have information about block number 11. So they are all connected, and then they form a chain. And the reason why I said that the blockchain transactions are immutable is that these transactions are stored, obviously they will be written as transaction, but there will be another information which is called as a transaction root. Okay, so they in blockchain, what they do is they create what is called as a Merkle tree. So you can see that this particular tree, it's a tree like formation, and then finally you reach block number 11, right? It's called TX root. Okay, let's say there are 4 transactions, TX0, TX1, TX2, TX3, etc. What they do is they will compute the hash out of it. I will tell you what is a hash. Okay, and what they do is the software automatically computes this hash, and hash 1 and hash 2 are combined together, and it will compute hash 0, 1. Hash 2 and hash 3 will be combined together, and it will create hash 2, 3. And hash 0, 1 and hash 2, 3 will be combined together to form a transaction root. Okay, so what happens is that the hash is something which can be created from any data. You can create a hash out of the word called Sanjeev. You can create a hash out of the word called hello world. So there is a software which helps you to compute a hash. Okay, I'll talk about what is hash and hashing in probably the next class. Okay, so what essentially it means that these transactions are recorded onto the blockchain as transactions, and their hash is also computed and written onto the blockchain. So the interesting feature of the hash is that if you change one word in that hash, okay, the hash changes. I can quickly show how a hash looks like. Okay, let me try and see if I can do that. So what I said is there is something called a tool which helps me to create a hash. Okay, so this long string, right? This long string, that is what is called as a hash. Okay, it is created using secure hash algorithm. It says SHA 256 bit. Okay, so this is a software which helps me to create a hash. Okay, and if I just say capital D instead of small d, the hash changes. Okay, and every time I do the same, I create a hash out of a word, it will give the same hash. And if I change to small d again, it will be the same string as previous before. So this is essentially a hash. Okay, you create a computer string or cryptographic string, long string, which can be created from only that particular data. Whenever you hash the word hello world, you will always get this long string which says B2A84 F4 B8 B6 like that. And if I change that data, let's say my example, if I say Alice 100 to Bob, okay, so this is, it can create a hash. Okay, and if I say, if I go and modify, the hash is entirely different. You can realize the difference. So every time whenever change some data inside a transaction, the hash of that transaction will change. So TX0, the software will create a hash. TX1, it will create hash. Hash 0 and hash 1, it will create another hash. And hash 2, 3 will be obtained like that. Similarly, TX root, that will be another hash. Okay, so if somebody is going to change the data that Alice sent or Ram sent 100 rupees to Rohit, instead of that, Ram sent 200 rupees to Rohit. If at all somebody modifies the data, the hash of that data will be different. And every time when a block is getting added, right, the system will check for the hash of the blocks residing in each computer, in its computer, and it will recompute the hash, and it will check the hash of this block along and with the other computer's block before it's getting added, or whenever there is a new block getting added, right, it will compute the hash of the block which is created. Okay. So if at all somebody is going to change the data, the hash of the transaction change, and essentially because of that, hash of the block will change, and because of that, your whole blockchain will look different from other computers who is having the same who was having the original data. So the moment you have a different set of data, your blockchain is different, you will no longer be able to communicate, do any transaction, or you will no longer be able to communicate in that network. You will be kicked out of the network. It will say that your data is corrupted, and you will not be able to do any transaction or retrieve data. You will have to delete all your data and sync up your transaction from 0th block, or from the beginning. And you will have to delete the data, and then you will have to sync back all the data from block number 0 to block number 100 till of all the transactions whatever have happened. That is why it says that we say that the blockchain transactions are immutable, and the moment it is written once and for all, because it is replicated to all the computers, and every computer will validate the data whichever it has, and then it validates the data against the data which is residing in all the other computers. The software does that. If we can consider a book as a blockchain, and the page in each page in a book can be considered as a block, and the entries which you write in each line of the page can be considered as a transactions, and page numbers can be called as a block number. Okay, so this will be mostly how a banking ledger looks like, or any a person who keeps track of finance statements, right? They will have something called as a ledger, where they keep track of how many was sent, how many was received, how many he gave to Anne or Kathy, or how much he got, how much was debited from his account, how much was credited to his account. All the information will be recorded as, will be written in a page, and each line will contain the record of transaction, financial transactions, right? So if you look at a block can be considered like this. So each line in this particular page can be considered as a transaction, and the whole page can be considered as a block, and obviously it will have a page number. Similarly, it will have a block number. So there will be, blockchain can be considered as a book with lot of pages, right? So, and all the pages are connected, 1 2 3 4, it's like that. So similarly, a blockchain will consist of multiple blocks, and each block will contain several transactions. Okay, is there any questions so far?
Sir, I did not understand the part where you said that this network tells a person that the system has been corrupted or something. You told I did not understand that part. Can you repeat?
Yeah. So when a computer is connecting to this blockchain network, right, it uses a software called a Bitcoin software or a blockchain software. Using that software only, you will be able to connect to a blockchain network. If you are connecting to an Ethereum network, you need an Ethereum software. If you want to connect to a Bitcoin network, you need to have that Bitcoin software. Similarly, each and every blockchain network in this world just now, okay, they will all have their own blockchain software. Okay, and in order to, as I said, let's assume that Ethereum network has say 2 lakh transactions, 2 lakh blocks. Okay, and you have newly installed Ethereum software onto your computer, and then you want to connect to the Ethereum blockchain network. So what you do is you will install the software using your laptop or a desktop, and then you just start the software. It will automatically connect to the Ethereum blockchain network, right? So the first step what this software does is that it will copy all the 2 lakh blocks onto your computer. Let's say it's like a 200 GB of data. So first it will download all the blocks in your computer into your computer, and it will say that your network, your computer is in sync with all the other computers in this blockchain network. Let's say 2 lakh blocks are there, 200,000 blocks are there. Your computer also will say that your ledger data, blockchain data, has 200,000 blocks, and each block will have a blocks hash. Okay, every block will have a block hash. Okay, and if you manage to go and modify, let's say block number 1 lakh, let's say if you are going to modify block number 100. Okay, so like I said earlier that the hash, right, if you modify a data in your computer, your hash will be recalculated, and then your blocks hash will change. Okay, the moment your blocks hash will change, your 100th block and 101st block will get disconnected, because 101st block was referring to 100th block having a hash 1111. Let's say it is your, for simplicity, the hash is 1111. The moment you modify the data inside a block, you will have to create a new block. Okay, and you will, let's say you managed to create a block, say block 100, but you change the data. Okay, if you change the data, your blocks hash will no longer be 1111. It will be computed, it will be calculated to a different value, let's say 4444. So block number 100 will now say 4444 instead of block number, instead of its original hash called 1111. So obviously your data will be different from the other computer's data, and your block number 101 will not be able to be connected to the block number 100 because it will try and match with the hash of the 100 block. It is expecting 1111, but your block hash is 4444 because you modified the data. Okay, so you are, in order to match that, you will have to modify block number 100, block number 101, 102, like that. You will have to recompute the whole set of hashes from block number 100 to block number 2 lakh. Okay, the moment you modify all the data, then only you will be able to form the chain. Okay, blocks number 101 should be connected to 102, 103, 104, like that. In order to keep that chain going, you will have to recompute the hash. You mean as in your computer will have to recompute the hash and then form the chain. Okay, the moment you do complete that, your chain, your block hash block number 200,000 and the other computers block number 200,000 will be different. And the moment you are trying to do some transactions, you are connecting to the other network, only your computer will be having a different block. Only your computer will be having a different set of data. So the software will kick you out. You won't be able to do any transaction. Okay, there are various stages of processes involved when you do a transaction. I will talk about that in the coming classes. What happens when a transaction, why your the data has to be same as all the other computers' data. Then only your blockchain will work. Okay, because there is something called as consensus. Okay. Consensus essentially means all the computers are in agreement that everybody has same set of data. Everybody has same set of data, means they are all in consensus. Whenever a new block is getting added, everybody will have to agree, yes, this is a right data coming in. This is a right transaction which says Ram has transferred 100 rupees to Sita. Okay, that transaction will be validated by all the computers, and then they will all agree saying that yes, this particular entry can be added on to block number 200,001. Okay, I will update, he will update, all the other computers in this world who are connected to that particular network, they will update, and then they will come into an agreement. So that agreement, it is called consensus. Everybody will say that yes, I am also updating my record, so you also should update your block. A new block gets added like that. So I will show how I will talk about how a new transaction gets added, how a block gets added in the coming classes. So essentially, to answer your question, right? If you are modifying the data, your block will no longer be same. And if your data is different from all the other computers, you will not be able to do any transaction. Only thing you will have to do is delete the data and copy back all the data from other computers.
Okay,
Did I answer your question?
yes, sir. Thank you.
One is like we said, when we connect to the network, all the previous blocks are downloaded onto our computer.
Yes.
So apart from that, new blocks are being created. So that means I should also have the space for new upcoming
Yes.
blocks, or
Yes.
else again
Yes.
it may get out, right?
And you should always be connected to the network. And then if you want to become a part of the network, right? First of all, you need to have that infrastructure. You need to have that high internet to sync up the data, which is coming from the internet. And if you, let's say if you shut down your computer for 2 weeks, okay. So you had downloaded up to 1 lakh blocks, okay. And you were doing some transactions, and then you shut down your system for 2 weeks. In that 2 weeks, let's say there are 10,000 blocks got added by various other companies. There are a lot of transactions happening in this world, right? All these transactions get added onto the block. So your computer has block number 100,000. And in that 2 weeks, there were 20,000 blocks got added. So after 2 weeks, when you switch on your computer, what it does is it will copy back all these transactions from 100,000 to 120,000. Then only you will be able to do anything. Your first 20 minutes, or let's say 1 hour or 2 hours, depending upon your internet speed, it will download all the data.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but you don't have to get scared that you have to download 200 GB of data. But there are newer mechanisms by which it helps you to download a snapshot. Instead of 120 GB of data, you can just download 20 GB of data, and let's say a snapshot of that whole block will be get, because you just need a history of transactions. That history can be downloaded from any computer, okay? But you just need to have that hash. Your latest block should be in sync with all the computers, right? So your historic data just needs a pointer. So you don't have to store the whole transaction unless you want to. So there are mechanisms by which you can say, I want full download, I want snapshot. You can do like that.
Okay, so it means like if I just have the latest hashtag, hash rather, so that is good enough.
Yeah.
Because that will be automatically updated and it will be in sync with
from there on, your system will be updated automatically. Your software will do that.